Hey, this is Blockhead, and you're listening to the Cabbages Hip Hop Podcast, where they watch terrible movies. Hello, and welcome to the Cabbages Hip Hop Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Suarez. I'm a music journalist and critic, and I write a twice-weekly hip-hop newsletter called Cabbages, which you can subscribe to for free at cabbageshiphop.com. Joining me, as always, is my sporty, spiced co-host, music industry insider, Jeffrey Laughlin. Now, currently, the podcast is dedicated to what we're calling Rapper Movie Season. We're discussing films where rappers are in front of the camera and or behind the camera, and we've got some great guests joining us along the way. And so today we'll be talking about LL Cool J in Rollerball, 2002's extreme sports action flick that the New York Times called, quote, a well-intentioned though heavy-handed assault on capitalism. We'll get into the show in just a minute. But please, if you're listening and you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from. If you can, rate the show 5 stars, write a review. We'd be hugely grateful for that. All right, enjoy the show.
Gary.
Yes, Jeff.
Gary.
Yes?
Why did we watch Rollerball?
Well, Jeff, we decided we were moving away from the bad movie battle theme of last season, and
But we didn't, in a way.
but we did end up watching a bad movie in the process. I
Rollerball.
want to take this
I
opportunity
made
to
Blockhead
clarify.
watch Rollerball.
We did make Blockhead, one of our musical heroes, watch Rollerball. And when we booked him, we didn't tell him what movie it was going to be. We hadn't decided yet.
He's going to be mad.
I don't think he's going to be thrilled with this.
I think we got ourselves a mad boy.
So, I just...
Prove us wrong, Blockhead. Prove us wrong.
I just want to take a moment and sort of explain what our actual purpose is this season. We are trying to kind of explore this vast cinematic canon of rapper movies. Rappers in front of the camera, and behind the camera, all sorts of ways in which hip hop has become presented on screen where rappers are either acting or they're rapping on screen, or there's some sort of way in which we do it.
Ladies love Cool James. That's
They
something
do.
we know. Ladies love Cool James starring in a movie directed by the Die Hard guy did sound fun.
Right. Like knowing nothing about
it.
Knowing nothing about it going in. Yeah. The guy who did like all these big movies, knowing nothing about it going in, just on surface, it's just like, okay, I might have just missed this film. It came out in February of 2002, which is when you basically leave movies to die, So like, maybe I'm not saying we were expecting to watch like an unsung classic, but I thought maybe we were going to go see something more entertaining that just didn't really get traction at the time, that sort of had some weirdness to it, because we've seen like enough movies that are like good bad movies, or good B movies, just like B movies that you enjoy. I thought we were maybe going to get that with this, the sort of extreme sports XFL sort of thing mixed in with a kind of an actiony sort of subplot.
But the general point being, and I just want to make sure I hammer this home as we continue this season. Yeah. We're not choosing bad movies.
No.
Not
intentionally. Not intentionally.
This happened, but we got to bounce back. We're going to have to formulate a plan and bounce back for the next episode.
Yeah, our next movie can't be this.
Something sick.
Yeah. Especially if we're going to be bringing guests back onto this. I mean, I think people sort of know the deal now, and I'm worried that people are going to think that we only bring people on, only bring guests
to torture them. We're torturing
and punish them. No,
torturing our like these people take their time and talk to us, and we're presenting them with viciously bad art.
So after we talk to Blockhead about this, which I'm thrilled to have him on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Unfortunately, to talk about this movie. Let's reconvene, you and me, and figure out something that we think actually has a shot at being a good, enjoyable film for the next one. Because I can't. I can't do Rollerball again.
You had me at whatever you started that phrase with.
Good. Let's do that. We've got a plan. We've got a plan. You brought your own mic.
I brought my own mic.
We'll be right back. All right. Our guest today needs no introduction, but if I don't tell you who it is, then you won't know who it is, and that will get really confusing. You know him from albums on Ninja Tune, Backwoods Studios, Def Jokes, and Mush. You've heard his collabs with Billy Woods, A$AP Rock, and Elliot Lip, to name but a few. He's got the vinyl edition of Garbage's instrumentals coming out, plus 3 remixes of A$AP Rock's older songs, too. Please welcome none other than Blockhead to the show. Hello, and thanks for being here, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We are here to talk about a movie. Mm-hmm. We have kicked off our rapper movie season, and we are thrilled after having done what we called a bad movie battle, where we only exclusively watched bad movies back and forth to see who could pick the best bad movies. And so we felt like we were ready to move on past that. Unfortunately, we picked Rollerball,
which could have definitely been in the running for any bad movie contest, I feel like.
Yeah, 3% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's a generous 3%.
Extraordinary box office bomb. It's like a $70 million budget, and it makes like less than 20 at the box office, like 19. Barely 19.
Would you say this was the Chris Klein career ender, or what? Did he do stuff after this?
No, there were more American Pie movies, I think.
Oh, okay, but as far as like him being an action guy,
one and done.
I mean,
no.
And really, like the main star of anything. This was post-election?
Yeah, post-election was 1999, then American Pie. So that's both 1999. Great introduction from
nothing
comedy.
After this that's like starring Chris.
He was in Just Friends, and he's kind of funny in Just Friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's more like what it's Ryan Reynolds and
played like the asshole nice guy.
The fat suit thing.
I think he's really only good when he's like doe-eyed moron funny guy.
Yeah.
Like, cool tough guy. No.
Did a Tubi week where I only watched stuff on Tubi.
Yeah.
Because I was trapped in my buddy's basement taking care of a cat that kept attacking me. So I'm cat sitting. I watched Just Friends. And at some point, it was like 2:30 in the morning when this thing ended. I had to go on like a 2-hour walk. I was so disgusted with the movie.
With Just Friends?
I was really mad at it.
I like Just Friends.
Really mad at that movie for some reason.
I
don't know. Maybe it was just because it was the end of Tubi week and I'd been doing this myself for like 8 days.
You're just beating yourself down.
It was also the week we had to watch Cats twice for the
podcast.
Yeah, we did Cats. Yeah.
Okay.
We did.
Never have I ever. Was there ever a cat so clever as Magical Mr. Mistopheles? So Rollerball.
I watched Cats too.
You did? Okay.
On cable, because I wanted to like see how mad it made me.
Yeah, how mad did it make you?
It worked pretty bad. I got about 45 minutes in, and I was like, I have to stop.
Yeah, we did it twice.
Yeah, my wife made me watch it. She's like, "This is so bad. Welcome to hell. Welcome to hell." I mean,
that got a higher rating than Rollerball, though, didn't it?
It did. Cats does have a higher Rotten Tomatoes rating.
It's got songs, you know. It's got dancing.
Taylor Swift's in it. It's got Idris Elba.
To be fair,
better production quality.
Rollerball has songs.
Rollerball's
got tracks.
It's got a lot of tracks.
It's got tracks.
Weirdly, no LL Cool J songs though.
None.
No.
And no hip hop pretty much whatsoever in there, unless you count like sort of rap rock, right?
There's a lot of rap rock. Like whoever did the music supervision definitely had like frosted tips and like clothing with flames on it.
Yeah, it's like DJ Ashba,
there's a Green Day song
Ashba.
Credited in the credits. They say that they had a Green Day song in there. I never heard it. I never heard anything but like heavily distorted, dark rap rock guitar.
It sucked.
Yeah. So you're not a big fan of rap rock over here.
Oh man, they should put that on the cover.
I truly can't think of a worse genre of music than rap rock.
But it fit this film.
Oh, this movie was rap rock
beautifully. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I'll credit it is that I think, though I'm not a big fan of the soundtrack, it is a spot on interpretation of what we're seeing on the screen.
Tonally, it's perfect.
It's definitely what they would have been jamming in Kazakhstan in 2005.
Right.
Definitely.
Or Mongolia.
And Morsel, Mongolia. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Well, should we just jump into this shit?
I thought we were. I thought this is. I mean, I don't know. What's the opening?
What were the rules? What were the rules of Rollerball?
The rules of Rollerball?
Okay.
Do you know how Rollerball works?
All right. So
we watched a movie about a sport.
I wrote down some notes about this because I couldn't remember. The sport reminds me of when I watched cricket in London for 3 hours. And when I turned it off, I still had no idea what the fuck was going on. And like Rollerball makes no sense. None. It was so absurd. There's motorcycles, so there's rollerblades, which is like inherently, even at that point, rollerblades kind of had peaked. You know what I mean? They were never cool, but they were already like really uncool by then.
But this is also in a movie where your introductory scene is street luging. So like at the same time, like their idea of what an extreme sport is already a little muddled.
I would have rather watched the street luging.
This is the thing, is that like the street luge sequence, Gary and I watch apart, but talk through the first viewing of the movie a lot. Yeah. And we were both like, this is really absurd and stupid, but it kind of rules.
Yeah.
Like it's wild action. You know, you're in San Francisco with beautiful shots of him rolling down this giant hill.
Yeah.
Probably in like Russian Hill or something. And it's absolutely awesome. And for no reason, a person from way back in his past just like literally scoops him up off of the thing in the street and is like, come to Kazakhstan with me. There's a new rollerball league forming up. And they're
I leave tonight at 9 o'clock.
I leave tonight.
9 o'clock tonight.
It was also like 5 a.m. in San Francisco. It was like dusk. I mean, not even dusk. Yeah. It was like the sun was rising because it was so late or early.
My favorite part, I think, of maybe the entire film is him walking away from that meeting with LL Cool J, which lasted, I guess, like 45 seconds. Mm-hmm. And we learned a lot. They played football together. Rollerball exists. Ladies love Cool James's car is really wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe that's it. But his decision-making process, he walks away from that meeting. He like kind of ducks out behind where some cops are. And he's looking at the cops, and the cops are actively not figuring out that he is standing directly across the street from them while they're holding a flyer with his face on it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, hey, have you guys seen this guy? And he's across the street and he's like, I got to get out of this city, man.
It was time.
It was time to leave because no one knew anything about him. Yeah.
He does that backwards walk away. That is totally not conspicuous at all. Just the
most conspicuous thing you can do. If you ever want a cop to fuck with you, just put your hands in the air and back away and be like, you don't see me. You can't see me.
Not
keep backing away. Oh God. We were in for it from there.
I really I enjoyed the luge sequence at the beginning. I thought that was fun. And
they threw a guy through a fucking plate glass window. It was sick.
That was my first laugh of the movie. My first laugh of the movie is like,
when was that? I don't even remember that.
So the other guy he's racing with.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
He like tosses him into a car and he goes through a window and I yelled, Suya! And like really believed that there were going to be so many moments like that through this film. Really the only fun action sequence that isn't just a bloody mess.
There's another action sequence, which is the weirdest action sequence I've ever seen in my life. And they made choices. We'll get to that, obviously.
Yep.
No, like let's go. We don't need to be chronological.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Okay. The action scene that was shot entirely in night vision,
and it's so long. Why?
It's the one thing of actual like guns, I guess it is, but like to do that in night vision was such a weird creative choice, and I feel like they're saving money, and they literally don't want to light
exactly what that was.
We don't want to light this. Let's do a 15-minute scene in night vision,
and it's like,
and it will look like
crazy crucial. You know what I'm saying? Like the movie hinges on it, and we don't even see what kind of cars people are driving. We can't see anything.
That to me, that was the part where I was like, up until that point, I was like, this movie really sucks. And then that happened. I was like, oh, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And that stuff, and how and there were all these janky cuts where clearly they're cutting around how bad an actor Chris Klein is. Like it would just cut. It'd be like he'd be giving a speech and there'd be an obvious cut and the speech would go on. And it wasn't like a Michael Mann cut, you know? It was like a terrible.
It was like yo, we got to put something here. Do you have a shot of the locker room from earlier?
Oh God. But there wasn't even like a break to break it up. It was like just a bad, like the face would just move 3 inches and then he'd keep talking, saying the same sentence.
No, totally.
So weird.
I have a question about the locker room.
Unisex.
The unisex locker room.
Yeah.
I have a question about
very
it.
Progressive. Very
Is
progressive.
it smart to have like the showering and steaming areas in the same general vicinity as your replay machines? Your video replay machines. Good idea, bad idea. Just testing the audience here. What do you guys think?
I mean, maybe they had limited space and they just needed to crack.
It's the locker room scene is so abhorrent in every way.
Nothing made sense in this movie.
No. Like when he goes back to bang Romaine's character.
By the way, she's never looked better. I gotta say
Thumbs
that.
up.
This is peak Rebecca Romijn. This is Rebecca Romijn, like
insanely
right after
hot.
X-Men. Right after X-Men.
In charge.
I've never like. I mean, she's beautiful, obviously, but she's never been like someone I was like.
No, totally.
But like that dark hair, she looked amazing. Yeah, she was the only good thing in this movie.
My favorite line in the whole thing is when they're like nude and laying together, and Chris Klein's pillow talk is to say, the problems with your face isn't that bad.
Oh,
he does say
he
that.
Says that shit out loud. That's a line in the film, not edited out.
No.
Do you guys
your
think
face isn't even that bad?
Chris Klein is such an interesting actor.
Is he?
No, I mean, in the sense that he exists, that it's interesting that he somehow exists. Like he always kind of looks like he has this like very like gullible, sweet look to him. Like he's like the guy that gets like tricked in a gay porn or something like that. And like he's just like always but he can't be a fucking like tough guy.
No,
like it doesn't work at all. Or like a guy with heart.
He's such a bizarre choice for casting in this. And of course, he's not the first choice for this movie.
Who was?
The first choice for this movie was Keanu Reeves. And that's because Rollerball is the James Caan original is one of his favorite movies of all time.
God.
And
I can tell you why he didn't do it. Yeah.
You read the script?
Right. If what we saw was anything like the script, it's like written by AI 2 years ago.
Well, the thing is, the first script is not what we saw. The first script was actually apparently quite good. Number of people who have read the first original script said like this was great. Then the director, John McTiernan, got in there and decided to make a very different kind of movie. One of the key things he wanted to do in this film was to make sure that we saw a lot of the game of Rollerball, which is why there's so many matches we see. And because Rollerball is such a nonsense game and not particularly fun to watch, unless you are a Kazakhstani minor.
But there's only like 3 games in the whole sequence.
I mean, it's basically roller derby, but with like jumping.
Weapons and stuff.
And weapons.
Yeah. And weapons. And
motorcycles
that
like
you can somehow see through.
So I watched the original, or at least I watched a giant portion of the original, probably about an hour and a half before I realized there was another half hour.
Oh yeah, that one's like a full. That one's like the original's like long, right?
Like you couldn't just finish it.
I just was so bored with the concept of Rollerball at that point because we watch every movie twice. Yes. So I just watched Rollerball twice and was like, well, I'm going to bed anyway. I may as well just like put it on. And it's pretty fascinating.
Is it good?
And apparently the original script for this was a lot more like that movie.
Yeah.
Is this director? What else has he done?
So this director is
Die Hard.
No, I'm going to tell you what movies he did because I wrote down the list is
Die Hard.
You would kill to be in this movie if you knew nothing about it.
Yeah. Right.
Predator. Wow. Die Hard. The Hunt for Red October. Die Hard with a Vengeance. Last Action Hero and the Thomas Crown Affair.
So
Slammers Only Club. And then he's like Rollerball.
Did he make anything after this?
He went to jail for this movie.
Well, that we'll get to that in a sec. He made one more movie after this, and it's the movie Basic. which is starring John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. And one thing, when Billy Woods was on the show, Billy Woods said that if you ever see a movie's cast, it includes John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, and that movie is not Pulp Fiction, you're about to see the worst movie of your fucking life. And Basic is a truly atrocious movie. But it's actually Rollerball that killed this director's career. And not because it went over budget, not because it was a flop, but because he was having such of an issue with the producers of this movie that he hired a private detective to wiretap the producers. Which has resulted in, you may have heard the name Anthony Pellicano before, a big Hollywood scandal of like celebrity wiretapping this guy was involved in. So John McTiernan, who basically hired this guy to wiretap, caught a federal case and basically spent the next like 8 years fighting the case, ultimately went to federal prison for a year. And then, surprise, surprise, no one really wants to hire the guy who wiretapped producer to make more movies.
Right. Producers won't produce things if they feel like they're being spied on.
This is a rare case though of probably like on a creative level, the producers being right.
Yes.
The director being the one who fucks everything up. Because usually it's like the producers being like, let's make this,
I was thinking about this too, because if you look at the arc of the career of this human being, Rollerball is a wild outlier. I haven't seen Basic, so maybe it's not.
Oh, Basic is not good.
But like this movie, compared to what we just named, is just like a polar opposite of a film. No story, no good action. It's just a bloody, stupid mess. There are several scenes where guns just go off near people, and they're just like, look, and it's the club. What are you gonna do? Like, we just got shot at. What can you do, man? Like, whatever.
Is it kind of like Walter? You know how Walter Hill's later movies were just like, what happened to Walter Hill? Kind of,
yes.
Like maybe it's a thing like that. Like he had so many good movies early on, and then after that, it's like, yo, did you forget how to make movies? Like, what happened here?
Something he must have been going
brain
through
disease or something.
When this happened. I have more questions if that's okay.
There's a lot of questions. But before we get into the questions, I think because we did pick this ostensibly because we were saying this is a movie starring a rapper.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Chris Klein. We've had some very nice words for Rebecca Romaine.
Yes.
But this is for LL Cool J. This is an interesting time. Basically he had Halloween H2O, Deep Blue Sea. He'd done Any Given Sunday.
Stinkers, except for that. I mean, mostly stinkers.
I mean, look, Any Given Sunday is really...
Any Given Sunday is the one. Oh, he was in
People
Toys.
See is at least funny.
Oh, Toys, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yo, we were talking about Toys during this movie. I was like, I wish we had just chosen Toys.
I haven't seen
LL Cool J's representation here.
What's your favorite part of Toys with him?
You asking me?
Yes, sure. He said he hadn't seen it, so I'm asking you.
I've seen this movie a billion times. It's absolutely when he sits down and complains about his meal. And he's like, I'm a military man. I like a military meal. I hate it when my food touches. He's very upset about it.
He's OCD.
And it's a real thing. People get really mad when their food touches.
I know people like that.
You're not supposed to mix cream corn and green beans.
I mean,
no thanks.
You want to be like that,
I guess, yeah. So,
that's what,
how familiar were you with these other LL Cool J movies and other acting roles kind of prior to watching Rollerball?
I mean, I've seen Any Given Sunday. I've seen My Hat Is Like a Shark's Fin, which also is a hilariously bad movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but that one is actually entertainingly bad. This was not entertaining, and it was bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was so bad. It was like when like indie movies are kind of like convoluted and confusing, and they're kind of you don't really know what's going on. This was like that, but it wasn't an indie movie trying to have it say anything. It just made no sense.
No, and it was there's so many points of contention you can bring up, so many points of dialogue that you can bring up and say, what was this? Maybe the most jarring point in the film wasn't a violent point. It wasn't when they essentially killed the guy at the end of the first game.
Which made no sense.
I don't know how to describe what the affliction was with this human being, but like they were going for, this was a very simple human being.
Yes.
And got smashed.
At very least, he had a learning disability of some sort.
Right. And got smashed over the head on purpose. That's how we're introducing the sport of rollerball.
But why is there a special needs person playing rollerball professionally?
The reason why that person's there, and I guess he was more of a mascot than anything else in terms of how they set him up, but he exists in the film to make Chris Klein seem less like a douchey American because he's nice to the guy.
Right.
And so now we're supposed to, that's our moment of being like, protagonist. Yeah, you're the hero of this film, as opposed to LL Cool J, who sort of is framed.
Meanwhile, the rest of his team is like, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
We all hate you.
Because he's making 100 times more money than
until it's time
them.
for you to flee the country. Then we put together a like ridiculous sum of money for you.
I could barely tell what team was which.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy on his team that he was like, I thought he had beef with, and they were at the club and they're friends.
But you know why that is? Because the director, John McTiernan, reused many of those same actors to play the other players on the other teams.
Shut the fuck up.
So you're just seeing the same bodies moving around in different outfits. Same faces in those cases if you're watching closely enough. So yeah, you're gonna get fucking blind watching this movie because it is really the same people being recycled. Rotated.
Was their budget like $800? Like what? Why would they not be able to fill these?
They had $70 million.
They had so much money.
They spent it all on rollerblades.
That's a blank check for 99.9% of the population.
And like, given the actors who are in it, it's not like they had like a Tom Cruise level actor in this. They didn't have somebody they needed to pay. I have to pay you $25 million to be here. Like they didn't have somebody like that. Chris Klein was not making that kind of money as the lead in this. LL Cool J, I just told you all of his movies up to that stage. Like it's not making big money. Rebecca Romaine was the only one who'd been in a true like hit blockbuster, the first X-Men movie. And I think she probably commanded something, but it wasn't far enough away from it where she really could, they hadn't completed the trilogy. So the point being is it's like, they spent money on a lot of things that are not that don't really translate on the screen. And it makes me, I have to go back to the green screen because there is a reason why they're shot in green screen.
You mean the night vision or the green
night vision? The night vision green shot.
Okay, why?
Yeah,
please.
There's a reason. So they shot that scene like a regular scene.
Yeah.
They shot it at night. And apparently it was unusable. It was so dark the way it was shot that you couldn't see the action. And when they put this in front of a test audience in, I think, the spring of 2001, audiences hated this movie. And so they had to go back and do reshoots, and they had not much budget to work with. The solution was to do this fake night vision version of that.
Whatever the other thing was, it was better. I know that the test audiences hated it, but, I bet they hated this too.
It could have just been like pitch black and it would have been equally.
Why were there multiple, they sent multiple waves of things at these guys and then we're just like set up to kill
them. And also
anyway.
the guy, when he shoots LL, that's an amazing shot. He did that from like
truly
7,000 yards away.
That is a brutal kill shot.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. These guys are good.
It's the first time that you believe these guys can do much of anything. It's like, wow, you can really do that. Well, maybe these guys really do have power, like true power.
I mean, I was confused just by who was what and who was a good guy, who was a bad guy. Like everyone just seemed like they're winging it the entire time. Like when the announcer, the guy, the announcer guy, Paulie Dangerously, the guy who used to be in wrestling, Paulie Dangerously.
He still is.
I don't know what his real name is. I just know him as Paul Dangerously. What's it?
Yep.
It's Paul Heyman.
Paul Heyman. Yeah. I thought he was going to be a bad guy. And then at the end, he's like, this is terrible. And I was like, oh.
But also, he just wasn't he wasn't a guy. Nothing.
No.
What did we need to, the only thing we needed to know was him being as confused as we were when things happened.
Yeah.
Throughout the film, he was like, what the hell is going on? Why are they doing this? And like, why are you, first of all, you need to tell me why they're doing this. That's your whole point in the movie. Why do you keep asking me? I was a little disturbed by his character.
He broke down the rules.
He also showed him lighting a joint and drinking while he was doing the broadcast.
Well, I mean, he's in like.
Wait, aren't you doing that, Jeff?
What?
Aren't you doing that exact same thing, Jeff?
What do you mean?
Drinking.
No, I'm taking bong hits. That's different.
Oh, sorry. My mistake.
It's wildly different. A joint, Gary? Come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I had to watch this. My first time I watched this movie, I was very high. And the second time I watched it stone sober because I felt like I had missed something. I didn't miss much apparently, but I felt like I'd missed something. And when that scene where Paul Heyman explains the rules, and I sort of understand, okay, they have to do the certain lap, they got to go through the rabbit hole, they got to do these things, they got to throw it into the thing with enough thing that it lets off the fireworks.
Here's how it was explained to us.
And then immediately afterwards, he says, as the other rules, the other rules are Russian and complicated.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Do you guys, this is how the game was described to us by the announcer, the expert. Mm-hmm. A team must circle the arena twice with possession before they can score. The ball must be held at all times, which was not true at all through the course of this film. Player gear can only be used to dislodge the ball. A team gaining possession must first do the rabbit hole before they can score and gain enemy territory.
I still don't get it.
It's like, is he describing Axis and Allies? Like this isn't a sport. There's nothing about this. Like, so you just get around the thing twice without somebody decapitating you. I guess?
I don't remember seeing a lot of
there's also a penalty box that's mentioned that never comes up again.
Yeah.
And 2 minutes for fighting.
I don't remember seeing very many players go through the rabbit hole other than Chris Klein. Like you've got these hulking, like 8 foot tall people in there, like giants, and it's like you see the only people I think you actually see that happen is like Chris Klein because he's a little squirrely guy. He's a little rabbit.
And he's also the best. He's like the Michael Jordan of rollerball. Like he's a guy that.
But also they said he was a rookie at the beginning.
But he was already known as the best guy.
Yeah. So at the end they're like the best
guy.
The best player in the history of the sport. And I was like, is the history this year? Is also, everybody a rookie? What the fuck?
What was the whole thing where like it tracked the viewership and
the
like
global
that thing? And I'm like, where are they watching? This is before the internet was what it was. This is 2002, so like internet was kind of bullshit.
Right.
This is the global instant rating you're referring to.
Instant rating. Yes. That's what it was. Yeah.
Global instant rating.
And why would a sport like this that takes place in like fifth world countries be broadcast anywhere? And like,
also
and get bored of it and be like, oh, not enough blood. I'll tune out.
Like,
whatever.
I have to assume that this is being broadcast on state TV for the most part in these countries. It seems like the only places where this film this sport is being
there's
shown.
A murky relationship between the Kazakhstani government issued like cops and the team. Yeah. Like they sort of are hand in hand, and it sort of is like oligarchical. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. There's an oligarchy in place.
Yeah, it's Russian oligarch. I mean, like the idea is that they're meant to be kind of post-Soviet.
Right, exactly. But none of that is like explained or understood at all. You just sort of have to know, I guess, the history of the former USSR.
And also that it's really popular, even though there's like 300 people in the stands.
But not popular enough.
Mostly minors. And I don't mean kids, people. I mean minors, like they work in mines.
The first violent incident, which we covered earlier, was the man getting his head destroyed by a giant metal ball. That rocketed the ratings from 8 million to 39 million, which I assume they just tuned in because they were like, they wanted to see what happened afterwards, because that's not really how ratings work.
Yeah, like you wouldn't, like no one's getting alerted that a disabled person.
There's no cell phones back then.
There's no Twitter. There's no Twitter that says, "Hey man,
you need to turn on the rollerball
trending
game.
Right now."
They just killed a guy. Yeah,
they just murdered a guy.
They just killed Brick Tamlin.
Oh god. Oh, poor Brick.
Sweet Brick.
The fights in Anchorman 2 make more sense than the fights in
this movie,
totally for sure.
The speeches in Anchorman 2 make more sense. The song he sings to the dolphin makes more sense. Or the shark, was it? I don't remember.
Just everything's incoherent.
These two players believed they could just have conversations and like be with each other inside the place where all the cameras and recording devices are. Mm-hmm. This is where we talk about whether or not there's a conspiracy to kill players.
That seemed more plausible than 95% of other things in this movie, though. like that.
I can't get over the locker room.
Is like, oh, that, yeah, sure, they might overlook that.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a certain amount of complacency on the part of the Americans that gets kind of highlighted a number of occasions in this movie. Like Aurora, Rebecca Romijn's character, is somebody who is clearly somebody who has existed in a post-Soviet state, and a failed state in particular.
Also works out without clothes on.
Yes,
which is her prerogative. I'm not judging anybody for that.
It's not judgment. I'm scared.
You do seem to be judgy.
You get hurt doing that.
You seem a little judgy, though.
Judgy?
Yeah.
You think this is judgment?
This is
truly not. We all benefited from the scene.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But so she understands, like, shut up. You are here under like tyranny.
Right.
You are in a place of tyranny.
Right.
With like, there's secret police. This is like Stasi. This is like real stuff you cannot.
Let me ask you a question.
And the two Americans are gibbering away at each other.
Totally.
Like, we're gonna make money.
Money. Well, to be fair, that's real. That's basically what Americans do.
Yeah. It was the ugly American syndrome. It was the same ugly American syndrome, just preempted. I feel like even though I feel like a lot of things in this film are unintentional in what they convey, I think that was clear. That was meant to happen.
When they go and they run into what could be a police officer, but it's never clear.
The old guy?
They break this guy's leg. They go to see a friend of hers. But who are they going to see, and why does it matter?
The guy that got her the footage is who they're going to see. That's who they're going to go see.
But who was waiting for them?
Somebody from that secret police.
Well, we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
She just says that guy might be police. Let's get out of here. Don't kill him, she says. And I'm like, well, first of all, you just like cracked his leg in two. And this is one of the most whole crowds are chanting this gentleman's name. Someone's going to recognize who you're talking about.
What's his name again in the movie? It's like Jonathan
Cross.
I just like that they say his whole name is they're like Jonathan.
Jonathan. They had it like phonetically on the screen for them to chant.
That's from the first movie.
That's not a cool name.
It's the same character name though, right? Yeah.
Same character name, and like the crowds absolutely love Jonathan in the first movie. That's like one of the only two things that like there's very few things that resemble each other from movie to movie.
He looks like a Jonathan, at least. Like I believe that his name is Jonathan.
Both of them
definitely looks like Jonathan.
Yeah.
I want to go back to talking about LL Cool J.
Oh yeah,
because
please.
I think that one thing that I have kind of gathered from my experience with LL Cool J stuff, and obviously he's been on NCIS Los Angeles for like almost 15 years now, so he has an acting career. No question. He has that second act for him is extraordinary. But this is an actor with no range whatsoever. Like an embarrassingly narrow range.
Which is who are we talking about? That could be a lot of people in this movie.
I would say that's cool. Typical, like rappers, I find they're either naturally good actors or they're the most myopic character. Like they can do one thing. Like Snoop can be one person.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre can't be anyone. Like when he acts, LL can be one person. Like, like obviously Tupac had more range, or more range. There's people that can actually act, but like
DMX has such range.
DMX,
DMX, I can't wait to watch DMX movies.
I mean, DMX is like if you watch like Belly versus like Romeo Must Die, it's like there's enough space where like LL Cool J is just playing the same guy in like nearly all of these films. It's like he's confident, he's tough. He's slick with the ladies, as per his moniker.
Ladies love Cool James.
Yeah,
correct.
He never would want to play a bitch. He wants to be a guy that fucks in every movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're never gonna see LL Cool J do Uncut Gems.
No. That would be amazing.
He's never gonna be a simpering
Uncut James,
like loser. He's never gonna be that guy.
James.
Uncut James. Ladies love Uncut. That's a different movie.
Ladies love
Uncut
Uncut
James. That is a different film.
Actually, I think
in this case,
is that a song on your next album?
Yeah, Uncut James might be
Uncut James.
Well, my first name is actually James, so it kind of works.
So there we go. All right.
Uncut.
That's absolutely perfect. In this case, ladies love centrist James.
Yeah.
Because throughout the movie, his character is insistent upon being like, look, all we got to do is turn the other cheek while they crush the faces of innocent dudes, innocent mascots, and we'll get paid and everything is going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Peachy Keen, Avril Lavigne, as soon as we get out of here, we're going to be just fine.
But it could have been like a Brittany Griner situation.
Yeah, right.
Like he's in Russia. or somewhere like Russia.
Somewhere in the
the Kazakh region.
Was it Kazakhstan? I know Mongolia was there, but was it actually Kazakhstan? Was that ever said?
I know they played a game there because the graphic that they were talking about on our screen went from Kazakhstan to Mongolia.
Yeah, they didn't say it out loud.
So they never said what the country was, but they gave a visual representation of the Kazakh region.
Was that the one that Pink played at? Because I know Slipknot was in Mongolia, but Pink made an appearance at a different one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
It seemed like they were filming a video of hers off of TV, and they just popped it in. Like it wasn't really, she wasn't there.
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on in the film. Like she's not there when Slipknot perform. They were digitally added to the film. They were not actually there in that hallway, alley, whatever the fuck that was. They were not actually.
I was wondering about that,
and they were digitally added to the film.
That's a lot of money to like. Why like again like they really budgeted this so terribly.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for 2001 Slipknot.
Yeah,
like, it is.
All right,
peak power.
That's a choice. But it's like there was this whole idea, and like if you think about the films from that time period, especially these sort of things that were really pandering to a certain demographic of sort of the young male action-y type thing, the use of nu metal, rap rock, and rap metal, those sorts of things were very, very prevalent in so many of these films. So it's just like it's a template. You're working with a record label. Maybe the company that owns the studio also is part of Warner or Sony or one of the big three, and like there's synergies that go on to that. Oh, we got to put these guys on in this thing, so let's just like digitally add them to the film, and maybe that offsets the budget a bit. Maybe that works, or maybe it's just a line item. Either way, the more you know about kind of how these ended up happening, the more you're just like, wow, that's really cynical. Those are really cynical choices.
Yeah.
In the original film, the point of Rollerball is that we're at a corporatocracy worldwide, that there are a handful of corporations that run everything, and they're called the executives. And the point of the sport is there's no more wars. They basically banned war because like it's the easiest way to transfer a giant amount of wealth to someone else, and they don't want to do that anymore. So war's gone, and the reason Rollerball exists is that people have bloodlust still.
Wait, is this explained in the movie, or did you read this somewhere?
No, I watched. This is known. This is
James
in the movie.
Caan, the 1974.
The original.
Okay.
This one.
Oh yeah.
This one has sort of a like last Boy Scout action nihilism to it, where it's just
coherent,
like,
right?
You know why
the first
this exists and why it's so brutal and violent. It's because you're a piece of shit. That's why. Because humans are trash and they'll watch anything.
There was parallels with this in Demolition Man, I'd say.
Oh,
definitely.
Like Demolition Man walked so this could crawl.
Yeah.
Fair.
And like then like you think about like Death Race. I mean, again, another 70s film that got a 2000s remake, these are the sorts of things that they were drawing back on the sort of exploitation films of the 70s and the sort of dystopian approaches that people came up with, and again, this was the director of the original Rollerball, was also the same director of the original Thomas Crown Affair. So like John McTiernan, the director, definitely had a love for that director's work in some respect and enjoyed what he did.
Well, he failed at it because that movie looks amazing, and this consistently looks like shit.
It looks so bad.
It is like even things that look cool are shot in such a way that you don't get any enjoyment of them whatsoever.
I feel like you have to actively try to be as bad as this movie. That's what I'm saying. Like this movie's so bad and it fails on every level. It's just like at what point are they just like there's one guy who's not being rogue and be like, I'll just move the camera here so it looks good. Just can't. Or the scenes where like Chris Klein and LL are acting together and it's like a battle of just like two people who don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
It was I just can't believe this thing got put out.
Remember when
it wasn't done?
Remember when a member of the state government just like held Rebecca Romaine down by her, like stomping on her neck for like a good like 8 minutes of this film. We just continually came back like, oh, by the way, in case you forgot, we have trapped and are continuing to smother a woman in front of you.
Yeah.
In a televised sport.
Horribly violent, no rules melee.
Internationally televised sports with an audience surrounding them.
Right.
And she'd only just been traded from that home team to this other team.
So everyone likes her in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Among the many ways this film disappoints is they don't even let or make Jean Reno's character, the Russian oligarch who behind all this. They don't even make exactly. Leon,
the professional.
The professional. That guy in Ronin who isn't Ronin. Yeah, like that sort of thing is they don't let him be. They give him these moments of crazy, but it never gets to the level of like a Nicolas Cage rage situation or an Al Pacino chewing the scenery situation.
Yeah.
There's
but
like
those
one
guys
moment
had the benefit of like a decent script.
Yeah.
And the things he was saying were just so dumb and maudlin.
Like he's just not prepared for that. But like, I mean, it's kind of funny.
How can you make those lines sizzle?
There's one moment where he definitely gets to like towards that. And I was hoping would it be more like it. And that's a scene where he ends up talking to some cable TV exec from some third world country. And he's like yelling at it for being on channel 106. And he's just like, he pulls out a gun on the exec in a crowded room and he says, "We are on channels 1 through 5. I'll disappear your whole family. I'll kill you right here." It's like, no.
So that's I thought the first time I watched it, I thought that was a threat. But it turns out he was like mad at those dudes because they're the executives of television.
Yeah.
That's what you should know.
Yeah.
But
they run television.
No one explains any of it really. But like their shit is like way up in the cable numbers where people aren't going to be seeing all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wants to be on channel 1 through 5.
5. Yeah.
And it all points to like, this is 2004. Cable is a well-established thing. People watch cable networks a lot at this point. And the weirdest thing about this movie is that it treats television like it's 1995. That there's only like 3 channels
like
that people
Fox
are
just
watching.
started.
Yeah.
Fox
that there's
just
like 4 channels.
New network.
And so if something crazy happens, maybe you could swing an audience by 31 million viewers in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe. But like, it's not 1954. It's 2002.
Well, does this take place in the future?
No, that's the fucked up part. Like versus the original Rollerball.
It's supposed to be right when you were watching it.
Original Rollerball comes out like in 2000. It comes out and it's meant to be about 2018. This one is meant to be like 2005. Like it's like barely future. It's like not even like
it's post 9/11.
It's post 9/11.
Post 9/11
like barely. although it was filmed pre 9/11. That's the thing to keep in mind. Filmed in 2000, bombed the test screenings in 2001. Reshoots.
Well, we invented
buried in a February 2002 release.
Everyone knew that in 2005 we would have global instant rating systems everywhere.
Yes,
everyone was going to have the
that
GIR.
appear on Tandy 1000 screens, Radio Shack computer screens. The technology is confusing in this movie.
Oh my god, everything is so
game
confusing.
Is not good. But I will say that I'm going to say this. I'm going to defend it on one point. I'm going to defend it on one point.
Yeah.
And that is when I watch it the second time on my sober viewing. Now I realized that, again, this is the fault of the editing. This is the fault of how poorly the script is done. That this is not a movie about the sport and these guys' personal issues. And this is a movie about post-Soviet tyranny and how it needs a dose of American freedom to get through it. Very jingoistic, very much that sort of thing. And it is exemplified by the bloody match that happens, the no rules match, where, it's just Chris Klein getting the shit kicked out of him. And then like the crowd gets behind him, the team gets behind him. And suddenly now you're just like, oh my God, like the miners are talking back to the fucking state police guys. Now they're scared. It's like, did this Chris Klein just start a revolution? Did he just start a revolution in this little maybe Kazakhstan? Like, and then suddenly, like, so watching that on the second round, I'm like, I have been paying attention to the wrong things this entire time. This is actually about Americans going to foreign countries and sparking regime change.
It's funny you say it because I wrote, the last thing I wrote down was wait, did Chris Klein end communism?
Yeah.
As they're getting on the back of that truck to go somewhere. Totally
to go somewhere
in fucking Mongolia.
To deal with his wounds, and then also, as Rebecca Remains Aurora says, to basically to have sex.
And to smash, yeah. They're gonna
that's wonderful ending. Like,
look,
into the sunset.
I want them to smash. I'm not like anti-smash here. Do what you feel. It's a do what you feel fest on my end of it. But what I'm saying, I'm not anti-smash. What I'm saying is, maybe it's not like I just got the shit kicked out of me by 11 dudes. Then I had to shoot some people and get in a bunch of fights. I've been shot. Maybe
he was in the hospital,
I need it. Like, maybe we run to the hospital. Maybe I get some rest before we get down.
You put some iodine on these wounds.
Yeah.
I just need to lay down and make sure I'm still breathing for a while. It would be better if you checked on me at this point rather than
the alternative of that would be the movie goes another 15 minutes and then you see what happens.
Right.
Honestly, I'm down. I want to see that would have been the most interesting thing. Is like, okay, what are you going to do with this bloody stump of a human when you get him home?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be wild. That's going to be fucking Infinity Pool or one of those things. That is a Cronenberg. Yeah. Saving for the sequel. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. That's coming. It's wild. It's wild to me because they are really trying. They get very heavy-handed with it, and sort of my bad movie B movie mode comes on, and I go oh, actually, now that I understand what they're trying to do, or at least somebody involved in this was trying to do, this shot heard round the world, the goal heard round the world is the revolution, is the thing that has people rising up against.
Did he score a goal?
Yes. Or
are you talking metaphorically?
He scored a goal by jumping into genre, basically,
but
smashing.
Not literally, because. No, to my knowledge, the end of the. I'm just going to tell it. I'm going to tell it like it is. The end of the rollerball season was a draw, and that sucks.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, that was supposed to be quarterfinals. It was supposed to be quarterfinals too. So actually,
then how do we know who advanced
again?
Where is the rules organization here, Gary? I need to hear from the IRC, the International Rollerball Collective, on this. Get the IRC heads on the phone and let's get some answers.
It's funny to me that this was it's a sport. It's basically a sports movie, even though it is about communism. But it's a sports movie, and there's this build up, the climactic, and in sports movies the ending is usually the big delivers.
Yeah. Right.
Mind you, it's playing a sport that makes no sense. Mm-hmm. And everything that happens is pretty arbitrary.
I don't know who was winning to begin with, so I'm assuming they tied.
Was there any point a score? Was there a score ever anywhere that was visibly displayed? Did you ever see a scoreboard in this game?
Paulie Dangerously was taking notes. I know that
he was taking notes, perhaps, but I mean, I guess it's whoever wins is the same. Because it almost didn't matter who won or lost in this sort of thing. That wasn't the purpose of this, other than on a local.
Here's
level.
Another. This is my major.
The oligarchs didn't care,
and maybe you can answer it. Why is this guy killing all his players? This is his team. This is a marketable product. They're very good. They came into the first game 7-3. Then we never heard anything about their records ever again. But we know they made the playoffs. We know that the stadium keeps filling up.
He's like,
why are you trying to kill these?
Do you remember the part where he's like, we have the replacements ready? He says something to that effect. He's like, yeah, we'll kill all these guys, and then we got the other guys, like the scabs, come in. And that was that I remember being like, okay.
You keep killing people. At some point, the Chris Klein turns to Jean Reno. Did I say that right? Jean Reno? Whatever. He turns to this man. He says, "No, don't kill her. Just trade her to another team."
Yes.
He has to stop this guy from murdering his players. And I truly don't understand the reasoning behind this.
Disposable. Just disposable people.
That flies in the face of all I know about athletics. Yeah. That you're willing to kill you just said the greatest to ever play the game.
Well, that's the thing.
Like in his first year in the league. I don't want to see the potential that this guy has kill him.
It's such a non-sport though that it's like I think the athletics kind of fly out the window.
I can do that.
You know?
Gary.
Yes, Jeff.
That's the last things I ever want to say about Rollerball. I never want to talk about Rollerball again.
Same.
And we got to thank Blockhead for being a good sport.
Thank you, Blockhead.
Thank you for this. We owe you the world.
Appreciate you.
When are we watching a DMX movie?
That is a great question.
When are we watching
a DMX movie? You know, we were saying earlier how, we were coming into this not realizing that Rollerball was going to be as bad as it was. And really clearly we have to watch something good.
Another PSA here. None of us had ever seen this.
No,
all the way across the board.
We thought this was going to be a fun,
but we gotta
silly
get out
B
of
movie.
That was a bad zone. We got to get back in the good zone.
Bad all around. And again, we're not trying to intentionally watch bad movies.
DMX.
And DMX has so many things. I mean, he has this fantastic run of action films. Yeah. You and I saw Belly in the theater some months back. I used to have it on DVD back when you bought DVDs.
What a film.
But we saw it in the theater at Metrograph. And it was so amazing to see that Hype Williams magic for the opening scene in the White House.
Yeah.
Just all the way through and through. And DMX was
fantastic film.
A delight the entire time.
Absolutely. Renewed my want to see more DMX on screen.
Yeah. Nas is a bit of a wet noodle there to kind of deliver some long-winded expository
stuff.
I
don't want to leave out the idea that we could just like watch Belly for the pod sometime.
Oh, and I think that's definitely in play. But I almost feel like
I truly love that film.
As tempted as I would be to say that we should do Belly for this episode, I
don't
feel
want to
like
do Belly for DMX's episode.
No, I think maybe we need to look a little bit into like his like action career, that sort of like Romeo Must Die, Cradle to the Grave, like that sort of world.
Cradle to the Grave.
I mean, look, we got like
Cradle to the Grave.
I haven't seen it either.
I don't think.
So why don't we do Cradle to the Grave?
If I remember correctly, I don't. It's spelled with the 2, right?
Yeah, the number 2.
Cradle to the Grave.
Yes.
And that was confusing. Is it a sequel? It's not a sequel, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a sequel to the other one.
Because there's a giant 2 in the middle of it, and that's like what people do when they make a second of something. They put a giant 2.
Yeah, but I think this is more like a 2, like a backwards baseball cap.
Right.
It's like Poochie. It's like the kung fu hippie from Gangster City. Cradle to the Grave.
To the Grave.
And it has to be better than Rollerball, right? Like, I mean, like, just the odds of it being worse than Rollerball, I can't imagine.
We were the fools to be pitied in this situation.
It's true.
Gary, you got me going crazy. Rollerball, rollerball. I've been singing that in my head all day. I'm so sorry that I shared that.
I wish you hadn't.
It's the Cabbages Podcast Network.